socially awkward teen realizes she only has the last summer after high school to gain experience doing intimate acts with guys. So she makes a to-do list and hopes it'll culminate with her finally making love to her crush. In 1993 Boise, Idaho, during the Meriwether High School graduation, valedictorian Brandy Klark is called to the podium to give her speech. However, the other students jeer and laugh at the awkward teen, causing her to cut the speech short. After the event, Brandy's older sister Amber mocks the teen while kissing her boyfriend Chip. Their parents George and Jean admonish the older daughter for picking on her sister. Seconds later, Brandy's friend Cameron gives her a big hug and congratulates her on the speech. Then he says he wants to tell her something important. He says he enjoyed being her study buddy, that he looks forward to working with her at the pool in the summer, and that he is excited to attend Georgetown University together in the fall. When he is about to confess his feelings for his friend, Amber teases the pair, but Brandy clarifies that they're just friends. Hurt, Cameron decides not to push through with the confession. Suddenly, Wendy and Fiona interrupt to take Brandy to a party. Later, Duffy makes fun of Cameron for once again failing to profess his love for Brandy. In the car, the teen checks her to-do list for college. Then she says she's excited for the church party they're headed to, but soon realizes that her friends are actually taking her to Derek's house. At the party, she sees Derek consuming alcohol from a funnel and quickly decides that she'd rather go home. However, as she's about to leave, she stops in her tracks when she sees Rusty Waters singing and playing the guitar in the middle of the room. Then she imagines the crooner serenading her and decides she wants to stay. Soon, the teen is held upside down over a keg, drinking alcohol from a hose. When she's had enough, Wendy and Fiona take her to a bedroom to sleep it off. Then they head back to the party. Meanwhile, a pretty blonde tells Rusty to try and find her in one of the rooms after a few minutes. Later, he enters the dark bedroom Brandy is in, mistaking her for the blonde. He takes his shirt off, and the inexperienced teen goes along with his advances. Moments later, he senses something amiss, so he turns the light on. When he realizes that she isn't the blonde from earlier, he apologizes and leaves. In the bathroom, Brandy tells her friends that making out with Rusty was the first time in her life she's ever felt like she didn't know what to do. Wendy and Fiona add to her misery by saying that she blew a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with a handsome college student. The next morning, she sees Chip shaving his legs in the bathroom. At breakfast, she mentions what she saw, so Jean tells her husband that the man stayed over last night. The conservative father admonishes his wife for allowing it to happen, but she argues that Chip and Amber are getting married soon anyway. The older sister asks the teen how her church party was, so she reveals that they went to Derek's and got drunk. However, when neither parent grounds the model student, Amber thinks it isn't fair. Later that day, Brandy heads to the local pool for her first day as a lifeguard. In the office, she's surprised to learn that she'll be working with Rusty all summer long. He apologizes for last night and says he'll make sure to introduce himself before kissing her next time. Minutes later, she meets the lackadaisical pool manager Willie, who orders her to clean and sort out the storage shed by herself since she's a newbie. After her shift, she joins her family for dinner and says her first day was humiliating because her boss made fun of her in front of an attractive college guy. Then she asks Jean how old she was when she first slept with a guy, but before the mother can answer, George shuts down the topic by saying that it happened when they got married. That night, Jean tells her uptight husband that he needs to understand their daughter's curiosity with intimacy. He argues that she had the talk with Amber too soon and made her take contraceptive pills, leading her to dating unsavory men. The woman counters that he shouldn't expect Brandy to remain chaste until marriage. George says waiting until marriage worked for Jean, but the woman looks away guiltily. Meanwhile, Brandy asks her sister about her exploits in high school, and she tells the teen that she needs to do the same before college, lest she be treated like an outcast. So the teen stays up all night creating a list of all the intimate acts she thinks she needs to do, with the end goal of sleeping with Rusty. The next day, she meets with her friends to inform them of her plan. When they learn that she intends to perform the intimate acts with other guys before ultimately sleeping with Rusty, she explains that once she's gathered enough experience, the college guy will want to sleep with her. Later, kids, whom Willie refers to as pool rats, impatiently wait outside the gate for the pool to open. Throughout the day, Brandy's co-workers play pranks on her, including pushing her into the pool, placing soap in her whistle, and replacing her lotion with mayonnaise. When Willie tells her to clean someone's excrement floating in the pool, she thinks it's another prank, so she wades into the water and takes a bite believing it's a chocolate bar. However, it's the real thing, and the embarrassed teen runs to the restroom to clean up. That afternoon, after Brandy finishes cleaning the restrooms, she playfully pushes Willie into the pool. The man struggles in the water and says he can't swim. Skeptical, the teen thinks he's kidding, but realizes he's actually drowning. After she saves him, he says he doesn't know how to swim because he hates the water. She threatens to tell the parks department that he isn't fit for the job, but he begs her to teach him how to swim instead. Eventually, she agrees to teach him if he pays her an hourly rate and promises to stop pranking her. That evening, Wendy and Fiona take her to a party at Duffy's house so she can get started on her to-do list. There, she sees Cameron wash his hands thoroughly, so she takes him to a room where they kiss, and eventually, he uses his hands on her to scratch one item off her list. Meanwhile, Wendy tells Fiona that she still likes Duffy even if they only dated for a few weeks in 8th grade. The next day, Brandy learns that her friends both practice self-gratification in the bedroom and decides to add it to her list. That night, while she touches herself and imagines Rusty slathering lotion on her shoulders, Amber barges into her room to inform her that she has a phone call. She answers the phone and Cameron asks her out on a date. The teen isn't that interested but thinks she can always use the opportunity to gain more experience with guys. Meanwhile, Cameron and Duffy celebrate her accepting the invitation. The next day, Wendy and Fiona help her pick an outfit for the date. In the movie theater, Brandy wastes no time and immediately starts pleasuring Cameron with her hands. When she isn't sure on how to proceed, she steps out to call Amber for advice. Then she takes some butter in her hand, returns to her seat, and continues the intimate act. When he finishes, he exclaims that he loves her, disturbing the other moviegoers. The next day, to grab Rusty's attention, Brandy takes a two-piece bikini from the Lost and Found and puts it on. However, when she goes down the slide, she loses her top. Embarrassed, the teen jumps back in the water, but the kids refuse to return the garment. Annoyed, she decides to exit the pool topless before proudly walking off. Rusty tells Cameron that he likes Brandy's crazy personality, worrying the latter. That afternoon, during Willie's swimming lessons, he tells the teen that she needs to learn how to be more carefree and not be so bossy all the time. She says she wasn't aware that that was how she came off to others. Moments later, Amber arrives to fetch her sister, and she rebuffs Willie's flirting attempts. Meanwhile, Jean finally tells George that he wasn't the first man she slept with, contrary to his belief that they were each other's first. When she says her first time happened at Beaver Creek, an infamous spot where teens hook up, the man says he never went there when he was younger. To appease her husband, Jean tells him that she didn't think he was inexperienced because he was really good during their first time. He says it's because he read dirty magazines when he was younger. Unbeknownst to the pair, Brandy eavesdrops on their conversation. The next day, the three friends read adult magazines while lounging by the pool. Seconds later, Brandy sees Rusty looking over, so Fiona orders Benji to spy on the guys. However, the boy misheard the guys' conversation and gives Brandy the wrong venue for Rusty's gig that Saturday. Seconds later, Cameron asks her out on Saturday, and the distracted teen gives him a vague answer which he thinks is a yes. On Saturday, at a seedy bar, Brandy wonders why Rusty's band hasn't played yet, so she approaches the stage, and when she tries to ask the lead singer, Van King, if he knows who Rusty is, the man pulls her onto the platform. When her friends see her on stage, they join her and dance with the band. Meanwhile, Cameron arrives at the house to pick Brandy up, but Jean explains that there must have been a mistake since her daughter is out with friends. Feeling sorry for the teen, they let him in the house and ask him to wait for Brandy in her room. There, he finds her to-do list and sees his name next to the intimate acts they performed together. Later, the three friends take the band to the closed pool for late-night swimming. While Wendy and Fiona are busy making out with the other band members, Brandy tries to get Van King to join her in the water. He declines because he dyed his hair that morning. However, they end up in the shower, another intimate act included in her list. Suddenly, Willie interrupts them after hearing the noise through the wall from his office. After the band leaves, the manager admonishes the teens for breaking into the pool and hanging out with men 10 years older than them. When she gets home, Brandy's surprised to find Cameron in her bedroom. The heartbroken guy admits he found her to-do list and wonders if everything that's happened between them never mattered to her. She says the intimate acts didn't mean anything, and he reminds her that he said he loves her in the movie theater. However, Brandy didn't think he meant it, prompting Cameron to storm out. The next day, the teen speaks to her friends and tells them what happened last night. When she says she's thinking of abandoning the rest of the to-do list, they discourage her from doing so because she's already experienced more in the past few weeks compared to her entire high school tenure. Meanwhile, Duffy comforts the crying Cameron, who tells him about Brandy's list. Duffy realizes he could use this knowledge to his advantage and possibly get with Brandy. That evening, the teen cries in Duffy's arms, unaware that the guy is simply comforting her to possibly be intimate with her. Eventually, they end up on the floor, performing one of the items on her list. The next day, Duffy tells Derek about Brandy's list, and the curious guy decides to give it a shot. When he approaches her, she loudly announces that she and Derek are hanging out tonight, making sure that Rusty hears it. Several feet away, the furious Cameron throws down the hose and leaves in the middle of his shift. Later, he drives to Wendy and Fiona's workplace to ask either of them out on a date. Fiona considers saying yes and explains that Brandy doesn't own the guy, so she can go out with him if she wants. However, he overhears the conversation detailing intimate details about his body, so Fiona and Wendy hide until he leaves. That night in Derek's bedroom, he performs a pleasurable act on Brandy. Later, after she adds the latest intimate act on her list, she calls up Cameron, but his father says he doesn't want to speak to her. Seconds later, Wendy and Fiona arrive for movie night. Then Fiona asks Brandy if it's okay if she goes out with Cameron. Wendy interrupts the conversation and says he asked her out too, but she refused because she values their friendship over guys. While scanning the list, Fiona sees Duffy's name, and when Wendy learns Brandy got intimate with her ex-boyfriend, she expresses her hurt and disappointment. Brandy reminds them that Fiona's seeing Cameron as well, but Fiona clarifies that she had the decency to ask her friend if it was okay first. Furious about their friend's selfish ways, Wendy and Fiona cancel movie night and storm out of the room. The next day, they find the pool covered in crude graffiti, and Willie explains that the Oakcrest Country Club pool employees always pull a prank on them every summer. Brandy thinks they should sneak over to their pool that evening to exact their revenge. That night, Brandy and Rusty wait by the top of the slide, while Willie and Cameron search for the knob that turns on the water. Then she pours liquid detergent on the slide just as the guys turn the knob from the mechanical room. Soon the pool is filled with bubbles, and Rusty takes his clothes off and gets on the slide. He tells the teen to join him, so she undresses down to her undergarments before they both go down the slide and into the pool. Once again, she loses her top, and the mischievous Rusty tosses it out of her reach. She playfully calls him out for what he did, and when she turns around, he kisses her. Willie interrupts them when he slides into the pool. The next day, the Oakcrest pool manager sees the damage. He asks his employees who they think the perpetrators were, and one of them points to Brandy's undergarment hanging on the fence. Later, the irate Oakcrest pool manager confronts Willie, who feigns ignorance. However, when he presents the undergarment with Brandy's complete name written on it, he realizes they're busted. The man threatens to report them to the parks department unless Willie fires Brandy. Because he doesn't want to lose his job, Willie fires the employee. Irate, the teen says everyone's been telling her to loosen up and have fun all summer, but that advice has done nothing but cause her problems. Later, as she packs her suitcase, she looks at her friend's pictures. Then Jean walks in to talk to her daughter about what's been bothering her lately. After the heartfelt conversation, the teen calls the pool to ask Rusty out on a date, and he says yes. After the call, Derek informs Rusty about Brandy's to-do list and implies that she'll do all kinds of intimate acts with a guy. Willie overhears the conversation and has a worried look on his face. While helping her sister get ready for the date, Amber reveals that Chip cheated on her while he was in Las Vegas, so Brandy thanks her for all her help, and Amber says she also needed to hear that her advice was appreciated. That night, Rusty parks his van at Beaver Creek, and the teen immediately ingests alcohol to loosen up. Meanwhile, Willie arrives at Brandy's house because he was worried she might be in trouble. Amber says her sister's out, but she invites the man inside so they can make love. At Beaver Creek, Brandy and Rusty make love, but when she gets on top of him, she sees her father in the neighboring vehicle making love to her mother. Horrified, she begs Rusty to drive away immediately. In the other car, George is convinced he saw his daughter, but Jean thinks she's at home making love to Cameron. Determined to stop his daughter, he starts to drive back to the house. In the house, Willie and Amber are making love in her bedroom. Later, when Rusty drops Brandy at her house, Cameron sucker punches him. While watching the scuffle, she realizes that intimate acts are only made complicated by feelings and jealousy. The teen orders them to stop fighting and helps Cameron to his feet. She apologizes to her friend for using him for her list while being inconsiderate of his feelings. She says he's the kind of guy any girl would be lucky to be with. Then she compliments Rusty's physical appearance and says she'll never regret her first time because it was with someone attractive. Eventually, Brandy realizes that she's yet to apologize to Wendy and Fiona. In her room, she tears out the page with her to-do list and throws it away, before writing a lone objective of winning back her friends. When she sees her parents arrive, she rushes out of the house and takes her bike to Wendy's. In the house, George runs into Amber's room and catches his daughter making love with Willie. The father orders the man to get out of the house, but Jean escorts him away to let the pair continue in private. In Wendy's house, Brandy sings a song as she enters the bedroom. At first, her friends want her to leave, but soon they join in until they sing in unison. Brandy apologizes to her friends and reveals that she slept with Rusty. Suddenly, George arrives looking for his daughter. Brandy talks to him in the hallway and assures her father that he doesn't have to worry about her. He says he can't do that because she's his daughter, and they share a warm hug. At the pool, Brandy thanks Willie for coming to the house when he was worried she was in trouble. Then he finally pays her for the swimming lessons. He says that if she wants, she can come back next summer and take over the manager position. He explains that being with a beautiful woman like Amber made him realize that he doesn't have to stay in their small town. In the fall, Brandy runs into Cameron and she says not sleeping together was good for them because it would have muddled their friendship. He agrees and shares that he finally slept with a woman. He also says that he finally understands that sometimes lovemaking isn't such a big deal as long as nobody's feelings get hurt. Seeing him with a more mature view of intimacy, the friends end up inside her room and they make love in several different ways. Suddenly, George barges into the room and is horrified to find his daughter in a compromising position.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.